The psychology of being ignored and why it hurts so much. Have you ever felt invisible in a room full of people? You say something. No one responds. You text someone. They see it. No reply. And suddenly, your chest feels tight. Your mind starts racing. What did I do wrong? Are they mad at me? Do they not care? Being ignored is not a small thing. It feels personal. It feels sharp. It feels humiliating. But here's what most people don't understand. Being ignored doesn't just hurt your feelings. It shakes your sense of safety. Let's talk about why. 1. The brain treats rejection like physical pain. When someone ignores you, your brain reacts as if you've been injured. Studies show that social rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. Your brain doesn't clearly separate "I broke my arm" from "I was excluded." To your nervous system, both mean danger. Thousands of years ago, being ignored by your tribe could mean death. If the group stopped responding to you, you were vulnerable. So your brain developed an alarm system. Silence equals threat. That's why your heart rate changes. That's why your stomach drops. That's why you replay the moment over and over. It's not weakness. It's biology. But biology doesn't always tell the full story. 2. The story you tell yourself makes it worse. Imagine this. You wave at a coworker. They look at you. They don't wave back. That moment lasts 2 seconds. But what happens next? You create a story. They don't like me. I embarrassed myself. I'm not respected. Your brain fills in the blanks. And most of the time, it fills them in with fear. But here's the truth. You are reacting more to the story than the silence. Maybe they didn't see you clearly. Maybe they were stressed. Maybe they were lost in thought. But your mind chooses the most painful explanation. Why? Because the brain is wired to scan for threats, not comfort. If you don't control the story controls you. 3. Silence feels like power. And that's why it hurts. There's another layer. Ignoring someone creates a power imbalance. The person who speaks and gets no response feels small. The person who withholds response appears in control. That's why silent treatment is often used as punishment. It sends a message. You don't deserve my attention. Attention is social currency. When someone withdraws it, you feel devalued. But here's the paradox. Silence only has power if you chase it. If you panic. If you double text. If you over-explain. If you try to prove your worth. Now the power imbalance grows. But if you stay calm, the dynamic shifts. 4. Emotional control changes everything. Let's say you text someone important to you. Hours go by. No reply. Your first impulse? Send another message, or check their status, or stare at your phone. Pause. Notice what's happening in your body. Your nervous system wants relief, not connection. Relief. It wants certainty. But real emotional strength is tolerating uncertainty. Instead of reacting, try this. Put the phone down. Take a breath. Return to your task. You are teaching your brain something powerful. Silence is uncomfortable, but I am safe. The more you practice this, the less control other people's responses have over your mood. That's social power, not loud power, quiet power. 5. When you stop chasing, you regain respect. There's something subtle about human psychology. We value what doesn't beg. We respect what doesn't panic. Think about someone you admire. Are they constantly explaining themselves? Are they desperate for validation? Or are they grounded, measured, calm? When you respond to being ignored with dignity, you communicate something unspoken. I am not dependent on your reaction. And that energy changes interactions. Sometimes the other person notices. Sometimes they don't. But you notice. Your self-respect increases. And that matters more than you think. 6. Not all ignoring is about you. This is hard to accept. But most of the time, people are not thinking about you. They are thinking about themselves, their stress, their insecurities, their distractions, their own fears of being ignored. Someone may ignore you because they feel overwhelmed, or intimidated, or ashamed, or simply busy. When you assume every silence is rejection, you make yourself the center of every narrative. That's exhausting. Instead, try this thought. I don't have enough information to take this personally. That single sentence can save you hours of anxiety. 7. The difference between strategic silence and emotional withdrawal. Now let's be clear. There's a difference between someone occasionally not responding and someone consistently dismissing you. If a friend repeatedly ignores you, if a partner uses silence to control you, if someone only responds when it benefits them, that's not random. That's a pattern. And patterns require boundaries. Emotional control does not mean tolerating disrespect. It means responding wisely. Instead of confronting in anger, you can calmly say, when I'm consistently ignored, it makes me feel disconnected. Is something going on? No accusation, no drama, just clarity. Confident people address patterns. Insecure people attack moments. Know the difference. 8. Why being ignored triggers old wounds. Sometimes the pain feels bigger than the situation. A delayed reply feels devastating. A social exclusion feels crushing. Ask yourself gently, what does this remind me of? Maybe being overlooked as a child. Maybe not being chosen. Maybe feeling invisible in your family. Being ignored today can awaken memories from years ago. Your reaction may not just be about now, it may be about then. When you recognize that, you stop overreacting to the present. You realize, I'm not just reacting to this person. I'm reacting to a history. Awareness reduces intensity. 9. The confidence of non-reactivity. There is a kind of person who rarely feels shaken by silence. Not because they don't care, but because they don't attach their value to response. They can send a message and move on. They can speak and sit with the quiet. They can walk into a room and not demand attention. This is not arrogance. It's internal stability. When your self-worth comes from your own standards, not external validation, being ignored loses its sting. It becomes information, not identity. 10. Reclaiming your attention. Here's something no one talks about. When someone ignores you, you often respond by giving them more attention. You think about them, analyze them, check their activity. You pour mental energy into the very person who withdrew theirs. That's backwards. Your attention is valuable. Instead of chasing theirs, redirect yours back to your work, your goals, your health, your growth. The more invested you are in your own direction, the less shaken you are by someone else's silence. 11. Social power is often quiet. The loudest person in the room is not always the most powerful. Sometimes it's the one who speaks less, reacts less, explains less. When you don't rush to fill silence, people lean in. When you don't scramble for validation, people notice. Silence can either expose insecurity or display confidence. The difference is internal. If you're silent because you're afraid, people feel it. If you're silent because you're grounded, people feel that too. The energy is different. 12. Let them show you who they are. If someone ignores you consistently, believe the pattern. Not with bitterness, with clarity. You don't need to force connection. You don't need to convince someone to value you. Attention given freely feels different than attention chased. If you stop chasing and someone disappears, you didn't lose them. You revealed them. That's not rejection. That's information. 13. The subtle shift. The next time you feel ignored, pause. Instead of asking, "Why don't they care?" ask, "Why does this shake me?" There is power in that question, because it brings the focus back to you. And when your focus is on you, your growth begins. Being ignored will always sting a little. You're human. But it doesn't have to control you. It doesn't have to define you. And it definitely doesn't get to decide your worth. Your worth is not measured by response time. It's measured by how you carry yourself when the room is quiet. One day, you'll notice something subtle. You sent the message. You spoke your truth. You showed up as yourself. And whether they respond or not, you feel steady. That's the moment you realize you're no longer afraid of silence. And when you're no longer afraid of silence, no one can use it against you. If this resonated with you, stay close. There's more to learn about the quiet forms of confidence most people never talk about. Subscribe, and we'll explore them together.